Welcome, all you rockers and rockettes and everything in between. You have entered the domain of And the Podcast Will Rock. We are the podcast that dives into the discography, the catalog of one of the greatest rock and roll bands of all time, Van Halen. I, of course, am one of your co-hosts, Mark Kameyer, and with me, as always, Corey Morissette. And Corey, how much fun is curling really?
Oh, curling's a blast. Yeah, absolutely. Diamond Dave knows what's up. We're talking about curling because I was in my day job. I work as a TV producer, and around here I was supposed to shoot curling this weekend, but it got canceled due to COVID concerns and other things. But curling's a blast. And I'm really hoping it takes off in the States because it's the one like Olympic sport that men and women are equal. You can play together, mixed teams and stuff. And you can play this game severely inebriated, as I have done many times in the past from my high school days onward. There used to be ashtrays on the ice. Booze flowed freely. There's sweeping. There's ice. It's just a heck of a lot of fun. So absolutely. Diamond Dave. Let's hear it for curling. Yeah.
I would be worried about going for recreational curling and getting your drink on, and all of a sudden, before you know it, while you're sweeping, here comes an empty keg just barreling down the ice, and it just screws up everybody's fun. That would be my concern, of course. But
usually, it's not a keg. It's usually a 300-pound guy who has slipped and fallen and is flying down the ice that you have to try and avoid. That has happened more times than not, and more times than not, it was me.
I mean, look, if you're going to get on the ice, then you understand that there are certain precautions you must take.
Absolutely.
But as we all know, a few Pilsners in, and those precautions, what precautions? No precautions. The ice and me, we are one. And then you find that, yes, you are. As soon as you're flat on your ass, you are one with the ice.
Did you just reference Pilsners? That's awesome.
Of course I did. Come on. I know a thing or two about a thing or two. Not a lot, but just a thing or two.
Your Canadian beers. That's impressive.
I read, and occasionally I get my hands on some imported delicious beers. So
are you a fan of the Pilsner then?
I am a fan of the Pilsner, actually, as it turns out.
That is kind of the official beer of Saskatchewan. In our football stadium, there's actually a place called the Pill Zone, and it's all Pilsner green and that's where all the drunks go. And they stand for the whole game, and they get just pissed out of their minds and yell at football players. It's great.
All right. Okay. So for the Canada trip that one day I'm sure I will have, I will journey off into the faraway land of Saskatchewan.
Right.
But I will be in good company because we will suck down a few Pilsners, and I will be hopefully welcome as one of their own.
I will take you to the Pill Zone, and then we will go curling after.
Into the Pill Zone. Forget the danger zone. We're in the Pill Zone.
That's right.
Yeah, baby. I am into it. And while you're putting some Pilsners into your gullet, you know what's also good at the same time? Blasting some rock and roll into your face, into your ear holes. And what better band to do that than Van Halen? Hey, that's why you come here. You come here to listen to some great rock and roll. You come here to listen to us talk about it. Whether you agree with it or not, it's fine. But speaking of people getting involved in the conversation, look, we love it. We love our listeners. We love that you guys are interactive. It's awesome. Thank you. Keep it up. But there are some times where, as good of a job as we think we're doing, sometimes we see the other end of that. And I believe, Corey, you mentioned that someone did not quite see eye to eye on a track that we went over. Am I right?
That's right. And he's a new listener to the show. And I wanted to shout out Michael Green because he's been doing a fantastic job. He's catching up on all of our old shows. And he sent out a tweet.
Mike.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mike. At Avenue868 on Twitter. Give him a follow, folks. Tremendous guy. He listened to the first 5 shows, and he gave us his takes. And he said, Running with the Devil, outstanding, top 5 Van Halen song, thumbs up. On Fire, great tune, thumbs up. Hot for Teacher, thumbs up. We were all thumbs up on those as well. Out of Space, he gave a thumbs down, and that's the one you were thumbs down, Mark. I said thumbs down on the show, but I've kind of wavered on that since. And Big River was a thumbs up. But then he got to episode 6, And episode 6 for us, Mark, was Dirty Water Dog, which was our first track from Van Halen 3 with Gary Cherone from Extreme, who's a band that we both really love. We didn't like this song.
We did not in the slightest.
No. And this song in particular has its fans, Michael Green being one of them. And I wanted to read his tweet to you, Burke, because I know you haven't seen this one yet. Michael Green says, number 6, Dirty Water Dog. Couldn't disagree with you guys more. Absolutely love everything about the song. Favorite song off Van Halen 3. The guitar, drums, bass, and vocals, all thumbs up. The album is amazing and underrated. That's my hot take. No hard feelings. Can't wait for the rest. Well, and I told this on Twitter too. Never any hard feelings. Obviously, an educated Van Halen fan is entitled to their opinion, as he is his and ours as well. And I really love that he loved Dirty Water Dog. Like, we're not into this. We're not like toxic fanboys. We're like going to start bemoaning people if they don't agree with us or say, why do you like that crappy song? No, that's great that you love that song and that you love that album. I can't wait to dig into more of that album, actually, because I don't know a lot on it. That song just didn't quite work for me.
Yeah, no, it didn't. But thank you, Michael, for your 2 cents. And I look, as a fellow contrarian, I appreciate a contrary opinion about certain things. But no, this sounds like you actually really do dig the song, and that we were just way off on it. So I'll tell you what, eventually, probably when we get done with the podcast, or when we get through all the songs, as it were, eventually I will go back and give that song another try. Look, we still have plenty of tracks from that album to get to. So there's a good chance that maybe I'll have a turnaround. Maybe I will see whatever you're seeing, whatever you're hearing about that album. But I got to tell you, that is a very long, steep hill to climb so far where we're at, at least for me, because that song just shattered me a little bit, because it doesn't make any sense, man. Like, Extreme is so good. Gary is so good in that band. It should have worked with Van Halen, but man, what I have listened to just does not. And I'm sorry to all of you who are fans of it. But I'm glad that you are, and maybe possibly one day down the road I will come around on it, but no promises, because I can't.
there is good stuff on that album. I think we both agree on that, Mark. And kind of to that point, every week we put out a Twitter poll. What is everybody's vote on the song that we covered? And it's What Dreams Are Made Of, or Is This Dream Over? I forgot to put one out for Fools. And it was largely positive. I put out that poll this week. John Mariano voted against it, even though he voted for it actually on the broadcast, and then voted against it on Twitter. Some men just want to watch the world burn. That's just John. That's what he does, right?
I mean, we brought John on knowing he's an agent of chaos, okay? And yes. So now he's showing his true colors, and those colors are green, because green is the color of chaos. Just look at Loki.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Big shout out to Mariano, you son of a bitch, but it's fine. It's fine. It's going to be okay.
But this poll shocked me, Mark, and I wanted to bring this up. The poll on Beautiful Girls, which I thought would be as close, unanimous, if not close to unanimous. Right now, only 85% What Dreams Are Made Of. And actually, one of our avid listeners, Gene Hickey, even tweeted, like, how is this only in the high 80s? At the time, there was 4 people who voted it. This dream is over. I'm like, how damaged must you be to vote down Beautiful Girls?
Look, I know we are living in troubled times. I know that, but that song's so fun. Everything about it is fun. What do the people not enjoy Beautiful Girls as it were? I mean, I thought everybody enjoyed Beautiful Girls, and then there's a song about it too, and the song's fun. I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't get why it was only in the 80%, and then how people just think, But look, maybe, you know what, Corey, I'm calling it right now. There's a conspiracy. I think this is the cult of Mariano. That's what I think this is. I think this is I think the cult of Mariano has finally broken through, and they're determined to just burn all that we love when it comes to Van Halen songs.
He's done one show with us, and he has a cult already. This isn't good.
No, it's not good.
We both kind of knew that this was possible, But yeah, this is a good. And now I'm starting a new damn podcast with them called Backtracks Aerosmith Revisited, where we're breaking down Aerosmith. And first show dropping this week, actually, and episode 2 dropping next week. Every week we're going to be breaking down an Aerosmith song. He's been pretty good. We recorded the first couple of those, but it's going to get dark. And the fact that he's already sabotaging our Van Halen show like this is worrisome.
It is worrisome. So if you think he won't sabotage his own show just for the sake of the listenership, or just because, hey, chaos is fun, you've been warned, my friend. You're taking on a dangerous feat, bringing him into the fold and starting a new venture with him.
I'm only going to tell you one time.
Dave's worried too. God damn it, baby.
He's worried. We're all worried. But so John, if you're listening to this show, and I'm sure at some point you will, we're watching you, buddy, with close eyes.
Oh man, I'm just on edge now. I need a good Van Halen track to kind of I'm just heightened right now. I need something kind of relaxing. Beautiful Girls would have been a really good one for this week, actually, just something fun and playful. But
they have no shortage of fun, playful songs. This is true. We have not covered all of the fun, playful songs, even though sometimes it feels like it, because Diamond Dave is just leading the race with the songs so far that we have covered. But there are some fun, kind of loosey-goosey Hagar tunes, I know. So I am fully prepared to discuss whatever it may be. But I'm with you. I think we need something fun. We need just if nothing else, just to stick it to Mariano. That'll be the mantra of the show from now on. We're sticking it to the cult of Mariano.
And he's going to vote "The Dream Is Over" on every single song we play from here on out. Yeah, if he hasn't already.
The ones he loves. Yeah. Even the ones he loves, he's going to do it.
Even the ones he loves.
So we'll know where that percentage is always going to go. Anytime a rock and poll is up and it looks, it's just like, what have we done? We've unleashed a monster. Boy. Yeah. Corey, I need my palate cleansed with some good rock and roll. I need a good Van Halen tune. I can't even manifest one specifically. I just need a good one. It could be one that I am not familiar with. It can be a classic. I need it. What say you?
We've had a great string of luck here. We've been just nonstop great songs for a long time now. But God, I need a comfort song after this whole Mariano nonsense. Give me something from 1984 if it's a Dave track. Give me something from 5150 if it's a Sammy track. I need a comfort too today.
Absolutely. Let's what say you, Will? Can you give us some comfort? Please give us some comfort. And Sammy, lead the way.
Here we go. All
right, here we go. Coming down. Well, we're going to get another cut off Van Halen 2. It looks like D.O.A. is the song.
D.O.A.
You know what? Anything off of Van Halen 2, I'm happy.
Absolutely. Whew. That was a close one, but I won't lie to you. I was just checking out the wheel and it slowed down to let's just say a very familiar tune, and I was kind of hoping just for a second. I said, are we going to cover that song? You know the one I'm talking about, don't you?
I do actually, and there was actually a couple, but we were like 3 away from Jump.
Yeah,
which
we were 3
Jump would have been perfect, I think, for tonight.
It would have been perfect, but it would have been like, man, I can't believe it. It only took however many episodes. We're not even halfway, not even close to halfway, and already. But alas, Jump will be saved for another day.
Yep. And so we're getting yet another Dave song and another cut off of Van Halen 2. This one's called D.O.A. Does this one strike your memory there, Mark?
A little bit, yeah. This is not one that I've frequently spun, as it were, but I do love Van Halen 2 as an album, so I am familiar with it. It's not my favorite of the tracks, but it is a good track. So not to bury the lead or kind of show my hand, as it were, when we get to the end of the song and vote on it, but you have a pretty good idea of where my vote might go.
It's the 8th track off of Van Halen 2. This one was included on the Warner Brothers demo way back when. They did mix up the lyrics a little bit. It was left off Van Halen 1. But the Guitar World kind of said, by combining Eddie Cochran Teenage Blues, Tom Waits Gutter Grit, and one-chord punk rock raunch, Van Halen created a poetic anthem of untamed youth. That's the oral equivalent of 50s juvenile delinquent exploitation film. So there you have it.
That is a review.
But, it's kind of a fun, youthful type track. This is kind of what we were in the mood here tonight.
Mm-hmm.
But being on Van Halen 2, it's going to have that nice kind of kicking early Van Halen's edge to it too. So,
yeah. This is coming off the heels of their debut, which, they came in hot and they just stayed, the flame just kept burning bright through Van Halen 2. So what you're going to get from this is something that is going to feel familiar. Even if you're not familiar with the song itself, you'll know it just because of the vibe and just because of the era of which it came out.
Absolutely. What do you say, Mark? Should we get into DOA?
We must.
All right, here we go. What do you think of that riff, my friend?
It's so dirty. That's what they mean in that review of like just the grit. That's what some musicians would call that a nasty riff, and it is. If you could see my face, there's a face that you make when you hear a nasty riff, and you scrunch your face up because you're like, oh, how nasty, how dirty, but it's in a good way. Because you want that in your rock and roll. You want the dirt, you want the grit, you want the nasty. Eddie gave us the nasty, so right away I'm into it.
Oh, totally! I love that kind of dirty riff, like you said. That just ultimate early Van Halen, right? Starts off like that, and even if you don't know DOA, like by hearing the title, when you hear that intro, you have that big right chord to kick things off.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw you nodded and like, yeah, fuck A, Van Halen, and then you kick into that riff. Oh, that's fantastic.
It's aptly named Dead on Arrival. So listen to this dead chord that Eddie's just giving you, and here we go.
All right, let's keep her rocking.
We was broken hungry on a summer day. They sent the sheriff down to try and drive us away. We was sitting ducks for the policeman. They found a dirty-faced kid in a garbage can.
Now, lyrically, and maybe it's just because I'm reading, again, Van Halen Rising by Greg Ranoff, one of the best Van Halen books out there. But he dedicates one whole chapter to this epic backyard party that the police had to break up. And the police had to break up a lot of Van Halen backyard parties because when they played loud. And when they played, they drew a crowd. So the neighbors were complaining a lot. So here we was broken, hungry on a summer day. Obviously, struggling musicians, they're not making any money. They sent the sheriff down to try and drive us away. That happened a lot back in the late 70s. We were sitting ducks for the policeman. They found a dirty-faced kid in a garbage can. That sounds like Van Halen backyard party lyrics to me.
Yeah, I was just going to say, this one feels the most sort of different of the songs that we've heard so far, because this one feels a wee bit biographical, if you were. This it sounds like they're talking about the days of playing those backyard parties. It's the lyrics seem a bit on the nose about it, but that's okay, because they're telling you a story. They're telling you a real story. Dave's not giving you something about his view on Chinatown. He's not giving you maybe his some punk kid on the street running with the devil, so to speak. It sounds like he's giving you kind of like a brief story of the band's early days. I'm into it.
Oh, me too. Let's keep it rolling.
And I'm alone. I'm on my way. Whoa, yeah. Dead or alive. Dead or alive.
you even got a little Mike Anthony there at the end, kind of noodling away on the bass, and even had Alex on the drums, right? Kind of went to the crash for a little bit, a little ching 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 ching, just to kind of mix it up, to go with that dirty riff. Like you can tell this is a song this band is very familiar with, and they may have refined the lyrics through the years, but this was I'm kind of looking at the concert stats here, and back in '76, they were playing Gazzari's, in West Hollywood, they were playing this tune. When they graduated to the Starwood, they were playing this tune, and all the way up to the Whiskey A Go Go, they were playing this tune. So you can tell like this is a band confident in this arrangement and just kind of having some fun with it.
It almost sounds as if maybe this was one of their openers, like to one of those backyard gigs or something, because it just with Eddie's opening dirty riff and and just it sounds like an anthem, just to get the crowd psyched. And Dave's not doing a ton of craziness with the vocals yet, but it sounds like a warm-up song, like something to get people like, all right, hey, we're Van Halen, hope you like us, and then just like bring on the ruckus a little bit. It wouldn't surprise me if that was the case at some point. But if it's not, and judging by these lists here, it doesn't seem like it was an opener. But it wouldn't shock me as if they had.
Well, back in the Starwood, this we played fifth. They would open with Out of Space, which was a track they repurposed for a different kind of truth. The early version was called Let's Get Rockin'. They ended with Fools, which is a song we covered a couple of weeks ago. But they used to close with DOA on occasion as well, back when they opened with On Fire, which was the second song we covered on this show. So great opening track there. And yeah, I can see this being a closer.
I can see this. Yeah, totally. Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's keep going.
I sent the mayor down in his pickup truck. The jury look at me say, get him alone, I'm on my way. Oh yeah, dead or alive.
So not really much of a chorus, Mark. It's just kind of one line, and I'm alone. Yeah. I'm on the highway, wanted dead or alive. And you got that great, of course, Michael Anthony in that high register, right, on the first Dead or Alive, and then Dave bringing a nice down on a Dead or Alive. Not a very involved chorus, but a very effective one.
Yeah, and please fact check me if I'm if I'm completely wrong about this. But if I'm right, I believe Van Halen's the first one to say in the chorus, "Wanted Dead or Alive." They beat Bon Jovi to it.
Oh, absolutely. Bon Jovi was what, 86, something like that, or 87 whenever Slippery When Wet came out. So yeah, Van Halen had him by a good 6 years.
That's just a fun fact for me, because the choruses are oddly similar, but Van Halen did it first. So suck it, Bon Jovi.
Did Van Halen do it better too? We don't know. We'll find out.
That's a matter of perspective, but you're right. Nothing to it. It's that's a typical Dave chorus. It's fine. It's what they do sometimes. I was listening a little more intently to Michael's. You pointed him out, his bass lines, and yeah, he's there's a lot he's doing very subtly. It's kind of everything else is sort of drowning it out a bit, but he is doing quite a bit of work back there. I especially like the moment where he and Eddie both put a lot of heavy bass on the power chords there right before the chorus. That was kind of fun. You don't hear that a lot from Van Halen, even though they do power chords. They don't get heavy on the bass with it. So that was a nice little change. I like it.
And we had a great little scream coming into the guitar solo here. So one thing, Eddie, early on here, Van Halen 1, Van Halen 2, killing it on the solo. It's not like he doesn't always, but
right.
I know we've been big fans of his early stuff. So let's see if DOA kind of continues on with that trend. Oh man.
Ooh, gotta love it. He ends it with a dive bomb. Just oh man, and it fits. It fits. He gave you a little hint of it at the beginning of the track when it opens with that sort of dirtiness, and he brought it back to you. That is called a callback, my friends, a refrain, if you will. That's great.
And how about what Mike was doing? Like, obviously, there's only one guitar in Van Halen. Eddie wasn't doubling himself at this point. So, Mike's playing that rhythm, and he's even kind of going off on his own. I heard him kind of getting high up in there, kind of playing his own little bass solo almost a little bit underneath what Eddie was doing.
Yeah, he was essentially playing that when I mentioned earlier the subtle sort of nuances of him doing work underneath everything else. But now that Eddie's focused on his solo and he's not drowning him out with power chords or anything like that, you can hear exactly what Michael is doing. And now that you catch it, it's a front and center, and that's not easy to do when you want to go off the rails with bass and still keep your rhythm in check. So kudos to Michael.
And then again, Alex killing it back there.
Oh yeah.
Again, early Van Halen, like top of their game. We mentioned it before because we do this album a lot lately. This is now the third track from Van Halen 2, but
it is. Yeah.
The young, hungry band just getting out of the clubs, coming off a tour with Journey and Montrose and those guys, then Black Sabbath, and then hitting the studio kind of with all that confidence, with all that swagger, taking an older song that they played in their backyard days and their Izari days and whiskey and all that, and repurposing it. And oh man, sounding
sort
great
of
so
kind of a call. Maybe they use it as a sort of a callback to the early days of, or maybe kind of like a treat for the early fans that were there before the studio times. Like, hey, remember this one? And then you got your diehard Van Halen fans who were there from the beginning. Like, haha, I remember that one. Yeah, it's like a little private joke between.
It was a little different, but I remember it. Yeah, totally
different, but still, yeah.
And I'm just in the chapter and actually going back to Greg Renoff's book, Van Halen Rising, where they were playing their first ever show with all original material and no covers. And so I imagine this song was probably on that set list. And I know they were opening for UFO that night, which I don't know if you know anything about UFO, but
I know UFO.
Yeah, they had Michael Schenker was their guitar player. He was 19 at the time. They had just kind of stolen him from the Scorpions, and he was the big wonderkin guitar player, right? But by all accounts, Eddie Van Halen blew him off the stage that night.
Yeah, unfortunately, UFO is still a great band. Check that out if you haven't listened to UFO. But yeah, poor kid. That's like being you're suddenly the biggest fish in the small pond, and then someone throws in this rare like giant sea bass, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, imagine being Michael Schenker. You're on this American tour. UFO was just about to release, I think it was their third album that was supposed to kind of break them in America. So it was a bigger tour. They took $5,000 to play this smaller show with this unknown band opening for them, Van Halen. So they were partying the whole time. Like they were hungover thinking, this show doesn't really matter, right? It's just kind of a one-off. We're taking the money. And then they have this unknown band opening for them. And then it's Eddie Van fucking Halen.
Yeah.
Gets up there and does like Eruption and like all of his guitar pyrotechnics, right? Because he was doing Eruption at this time. And then you're Michael Schenker, you're 19 years old. And you're like, holy fuck, I got to follow that now.
Shit.
Yeah.
It's like sober up real quick and, flex the fingers the best you can because, oh boy, yeah, you've got a long trip to follow.
But apparently UFO bombed that night to the point where their lead singer.
I don't.
Oh God. And their lead singer confronted Dave after the show and said, your guitar player fucked up my guitar player's head. Like, like our guitars that fragile, Mark, that they can't handle seeing somebody who's trying to elevate the craft.
No comment, but yes.
Gotcha.
Yes, sometimes they are. Yes. I'd like to say these days not so much, but that's probably not true. But that's also, and just to be fair to the guitar players listening, vocalists are even more fragile, so it's fine.
Oh, I totally believe that. Absolutely. All right, let's keep rolling.
Now I'm moving out in dirty dressing rags. Up from the day my mama told me, boy, you pack your bags.
No, this isn't something David Lee Roth knows about because he comes from a very affluent family. His dad was a surgeon and paid for like a lot of things for Dave. So now I'm broken down and dirty, dressed in rags. From the day my mama told me, boy, pack your bags. That never happened to Dave. And didn't happen to Van Halen boys either because they had a pretty loving family support system around them too. So a little fantasy in that lyric.
Look, there's such a thing called historical fiction, and this is definitely Dave tapping into that. So yeah, it's fine. Sometimes historical fiction is fun. I mean, Braveheart's a good movie, even though it's just not accurate whatsoever. So
there you go. The Braveheart of Van Halen 2. Let's keep going.
Here we was sitting ducks for the policeman. They found a dirty faced kid in a garbage can. Yeah.
No, I imagine that actually happened because all of a sudden the police raid a backyard party, kids, high on whatever, right? Diving into garbage cans trying to avoid the police. I could totally see that happening.
Probably, but this also starts and maybe it's just the way Dave is singing it, but the way the lyrics are set up and the way he's singing it, this feels like he's tapping into some blues inspiration. It sounds very much like if you took all of the heavy rock distortion out of it and just slowed it down, play it on an acoustic guitar maybe, and we was sitting ducks for the policeman, something like that. It's like, okay, this is a blues song. Okay, that's what this is. So, yeah, that's what it feels like to me. We've left the biographicalness of it behind, but now it feels like it's just sort of Dave tapping into some blues inspiration, or maybe that's just how he thought rock and roll was supposed to sound. I mean, there are correlations there. But that's what it feels like to me.
Well, and that's a good observation because they were very much influenced by the blues. I think Dave actually brought more of the kind of, I don't think he was more of the blues. I think that maybe came more from the Brothers. The Brothers were more like ZZ Top, Aerosmith, Led Zeppelin, whereas Dave was trying to expand their horizons a little bit. And plus he could sing in that key maybe a little bit better than he can't compete with the Steven Tyler or even a Billy Gibbons really at that point from ZZ Top. So they were very much influenced by blues. So yeah, I could see Dave with an acoustic kind of playing some blues and singing a lyric like that. That's good pull.
Or attempting to, it sort of seems like an attempt to. So yeah, I'm not mad at it.
There you go. All right, we got a minute 22 left. Why not a second solo, right? Like, we know you're all coming out to see Eddie Van Halen. We're going to give him 2 solos in the same song.
I mean, if you've got the ability to do it, if you've got the time, why not? You've always got the time for a second Eddie Van Halen solo because he's just going to fly down the fretboard. You got all the time in the world, bro. Yeah. Let it fly. If you think the song calls for it, do it. Honestly, I think the song calls for it.
Yeah, well, he's lyrically, you kind of look at the lyric sheet here. It's pretty small, and a lot of it's repeated lines from kind of the first part of the song. So, yeah, fuck yeah, throw in another Eddie Van Halen solo. Works for me.
Yeah,
no one's gonna complain about that.
No.
and a fade out. I was expecting a big like concert ending there. Instead, we got a fade out.
Yeah. No, I remember now from listening to it. Way back when, it was like, yeah, that's such a weird ending. Like, why wouldn't you just end it concert style or arena style? No, they're just like, no, we're just gonna fade it out while he's just like, all right. Or like, you could have just faded out and just because you'll notice Alex decided, oh, I'm gonna speed this tempo up. You guys try and keep up, and Eddie's like, okay, sure. And you would think that maybe it would fade out just as the quicker it goes, but no, we're gonna fade out on a really weird chugging riff. Okay, that's a choice.
It is a
choice. Who am I to question it?
We were building, like you said, the tempo picked up, right? And you felt this natural kind of build, and you think, oh, this is going to be like a big, massive concert style ending. And I bet you live, maybe that's how they ended this. But instead, like you said, we got that little chug riff, and then it fades out, and it's like, oh, that's seems like an opportunity missed.
yeah. They were either going to go one way to a big concert finish, or it almost sounded like they were going to bust out into a completely different variation of the riff, like almost a second song in the mix. But no, that's not what happened. That is not what happened at all.
But that's the song D.O.A. from Van Halen II. The album was released March 23rd, 1979. Recorded Sunset Sound Recorders, Hollywood, California. Produced by Ted Templeman. Mark Kamara, I believe you get to go first this week. Is this what dreams are made of, or is this dream over?
Well, and again, I alluded to this earlier, but look, is this my favorite song on Van Halen 2? No. Is this the best song on the album? Again, no. But look, you're also trying to make me decide which gold is shinier. You know what I mean? It's just like there's no bad song on this album. That's why I think I love it so much. But and I wouldn't even say it's their weakest song. However, it's a good classic Van Halen song in the sense that you get what you need. You get the opening riff, just even with that, kind of a different start to it. The opening dirty grittiness of the riff, it's not even a full riff. It's just Eddie plucking a chord and then using his whammy bar to expel sort of like that reverse dive, and then you get a dive bomb later. He brings it back. You get two solos for the price of one with Eddie Van Halen. Okay, that's rare even for Eddie, and when he does it, it's a treat. And this was a good solo too, because he's not playing overly to drown out the rest of the song, as like he's not trying to cover up anything. He's playing to the riff, and he's just expanding, and he does it twice, and he doesn't do the same techniques in both solos. He does them differently. This is not Dave's greatest lyrical outing, but it is very good. He's painting a very clear picture, which is more than I can say for some of his songs. So I can always appreciate that. You don't get a ton of the howling kind of like whoop with Dave this time around, or the screams, but that's okay, because he's still doing the job he needs to do in terms of the song. And then, Michael's doing a lot more, and I'm so glad in the solo section you get to hear what he's doing, because look, Michael is underappreciated. I know we've gone over some songs where we think the bass line sounds really good, only to find out like, yeah, well, that's Eddie. Like, okay, fine. But that still does not diminish the Michael Anthony's ability to play the instrument, man. He's so good back there. And look at Alex, not to be outdone. He's not going to just stick to the rhythm. He's like, no, I'm going to have some fun. And especially if we're going to end the song, I'm going to really have some fun. You got him with the sneak attack tempo change. That's fun. That's great stuff. I tell you, Alex was never my favorite drummer. I've always appreciated Alex because of the band he helped to create. But the more we do this show and the more I really, really listen to what he does, the more I just fully appreciate him. And so this is no exception too. This is just a song that fits the Van Halen mold. Like I said, they were on fire, and so they kept the fire burning. And this song is just the extra, little wood to the fire pile. So yeah, it's absolutely what dreams are made of. It's not the greatest dream, but it's not trying to be. It's just trying to be a good dream. But Corey, do you think this dream was a good dream, or is this dream over?
Mark, I am a sucker for a killer riff. And I love this riff. I think back to songs like, it's not a very complicated riff, but you look at a song like Smoke on the Water, that's not a very complicated riff either, but it's one of the greatest riffs in rock and roll history. One of my favorite T-Rex songs, 20th Century Boy, has a killer riff. Even a song like My Sharona by The Knack has that riff that you just don't forget, right? And even though DOA wasn't a big hit or anything, it wasn't released as a single, it has one of those really memorable riffs. And when people talk about the standouts or their favorites on Van Halen II, a lot of times DOA is mentioned because you have that killer riff. And everything else about the song is great too. I love the lyrics. I thought Dave sounded great on it. I really loved what Mike Anthony and Alex Van Halen were doing, almost kind of veering away a little bit and doing some almost kind of like their own little solo fills underneath the guitar solo and stuff. That sounded really cool. Left a little cold on the fade out. I thought we could use maybe a bigger bombastic ending, but that is a very minor gripe. This is a killer track from a killer album. I wish I could have been there at Gazzari's and at the Whiskey and stuff, or even on the Journey Montrose tour to see them play this song, because it would have been phenomenal. DOA is a great song. It's the 8th track, but actually, Mark, there's an instrumental that is before DOA on Van Halen 2 called Spanish Fly. What do you say? It's only a minute long. What do you say we give it a quick listen?
I don't see why not.
All right, it's our show. We can do whatever the hell we want, right?
Exactly.
All right, here's a little bonus for you, folks. Here's a little Spanish Fly from Van Halen 2. Yeah, All right, so Van Halen 1, we had Eruption, right? So what does he do to follow that up on Van Halen 2? How about a little acoustic tap fest? How did that sound to you?
It sounded like, you ever seen when Hulk Hogan would flex his muscles and strike a pose? You could see it, but you can't hear it. You can hear the flex in this is basically what I'm getting at. Yeah, this is Eddie just showing off. But I mean, it's not that the way I understand it, he wasn't doing it just because he could. He just is just like, why not? I'm gonna just playing around. And this is Eddie just playing around. He's like, yeah, I could do this acoustically. Why not? It's got 6 strings. So and there he is. And it's called Spanish Fly because it's very much in the style of Spanish guitar playing. So I mean, he's not using a pick when he's playing. He's just like all finger tapping. And it's just, I mean, good God. And first of all, this is not easy to do. Okay. Spanish guitar playing is there's a technique to it, and it's not like regular guitar playing. It's very, very difficult. It's all fingers. And might I add, when you're not used to it, painful. So this also sounded painful while sounding beautiful. So give it up to Eddie for just flexing all of his guitar muscles whatsoever for this track that just happened by accident, the way I understand it.
Yeah, actually, I'm looking at Van Halen News Desk, and they had a little backstory on Spanish Fly. And apparently, Ed was fooling around on an acoustic, a 6-string Ovation, actually, when producer Ted Templeman walked in and said, "You can play acoustic?" And Eddie looked at him and said, "What's the difference? It's got 6 strings." And that's what became Spanish Fly, and they put it on the album. So,
yep, I mean, yeah, that's such a great excuse to, or a great retort of like, yeah, why not? It's got 6 strings. Well, what if it didn't? What if it had 5 strings? What if it had 4? What would Eddie have? Well, if it had been 4, he probably would have treated it like a bass, and we already know what he can do with that. So
it would have been awesome. Yeah,
yeah, it would have been great either way. But I just, man, I forgot about Spanish Fly from this album. Like, I forgot what it was, and jeez. It's, this is the kind of tune you listen to as a guitar player and you just go, I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna quit because I'm never gonna achieve that level to where I'm just doodling around just willy-nilly, and then that's what I come up with. Man, no.
Yeah, just fooling around the studio. Producer walks in and says, "Hey, let's record it. Minute long. Throw it on the album. Track number 7."
You can hear him. You can hear him enter the booth, pick up the guitar, go, take a few breaths. He's probably got a cigarette in his mouth, like, all right, here we go. And then does it. And then you can hear him walk out. He literally said, "Get in there and I'll hit record." So honestly, this sounds like a single take. And probably. Good God.
And I like when you said it sounded like pain, because I can just imagine what your fingers would have to do to do that, and it hurts my hand just thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think Eddie had grown some pretty calloused fingers at this point with all the tapping and the picking he did. But I don't know, it's really cool to see that he's not, even though he's a rock guitar player, he is still very much influenced by other virtuosos, and he's not limited to just the rock and the metal, and that he can show you is like, look, I can incorporate these things and just do it in a different style, so that look at me, I have dynamics. That's a rare thing with great. That's what separates the great guitar players from everyone else.
Amazing, a great album, great song, and I'm glad we got a little Spanish Fly in there too, because that is the song at the beginning, and we talked about how do we handle the instrumentals. Obviously, we played Eruption when Chris L was on the show because it was Eddie Van Halen's birthday when we recorded that, and that worked out really well. But I just noticed that, there's Spanish Fly is the track right before this, and it's an instrumental. Let's talk about that. So maybe as we kind of come to the tracks that come right after the instrumentals, we'll play the instrumental too and kind of give our quick little take on that as well.
Yeah, why not?
It's our show. We can do whatever the hell we want, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's a unanimous, I think that's what dreams are made of with the Spanish Fly. Oh, yeah. We'll just go ahead and we'll do that, because if you don't think so, then you must have some really sad dreams, because that was quite impressive. And yeah, there it is. There's another 2 tracks off the list, and and the world goes on and the wheel spins madly on. We will do this once again, but Corey, before we go, where can the good people find you and find the show when they want to tune in, and they need to know where?
Oh, they could find me at CD Marset on Twitter and Instagram, although I don't really post on Instagram. I'm there. They could find the show at Podcast Will Rock on Twitter, and www.podcastwillrock.com. All our past shows are on there. We got some merch on there. You can contact the show on there, and we have a lot of Van Halen fans engaging with us on Twitter, and it's been really, really great. So if you want to reach out, let us know what you thought. Maybe Mark and I are full of shit. If you love Dirty Water Dog, there's a real groundswell for that song. Let's hear more about it. If for some reason you didn't like Beautiful Girls and you're not a disciple of Mariano, let us know. What is it about that song that didn't work for you? We like talking Van Halen. Obviously, we're doing a show on them. And please, reach out and check out the Deep Dive Podcasting Network. Of course, we have a ton of great shows on there. Sabbath Bloody Podcast, Skinnerd Reconsidered, the Deep Purple Podcast, T-Bone's Prime Cuts. T-Bone, I know Terry Mathley had a medical procedure this past week. We wish him all the best, and hopefully he's feeling fine. In the Lap of the Pods, The Magicians Podcast, Hawk Binge, Maiden A to Z, Diary of the Madmen, and Universally Speaking, the Red Hot Chili Peppers Podcast, and the Metal Gods Podcast, and new to the feed, Backtracks, Aerosmith Revisited. And how do I know that, Joe? Well, I host it, along with the aforementioned John Mariano. Our goal is to create the ultimate Aerosmith mixtape, and we're doing that one track at a time. So the first 18 tracks will kind of go on automatically, and then the debate happens. What do we take off, and what do we put on? So you're going to see a lot of Aerosmith classics left off the Aerosmith mixtape. It's going to be a great debate and a great show, so hopefully everybody will check us out. And Mr. Kamier, where can the fine folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Mark the Bat. And if you are a big fan of Dirty Water Dog and you are not a disciple of John Mariano, or if you are, I will ask you the same questions. Why? But it's fine. That's what we're here for. We're here to have the discussions. I will acknowledge that you either disagree with the songs that we choose or you agree with it. You know, if you do disagree, we don't need to have a fight about it. We can discuss it. Like, please tell me, like, what is it about that particular song or whatever song we're talking about that you disagree with us? Tell us why. We want to know. I want to get into a new perspective. That is, unless, of course, you are just an agent of chaos and Mariano sent you. And if that's the case, then you go straight to hell. It's fine. Yeah, we love John, but my God, you know what? We've talked about him too much on this show, so that's it. That's the last word That's the last word he's gonna get. He is not gonna get any more from me because we had a wonderful show, 2 for the price of 1. You know, it's one of those rarities, you guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for keeping the conversation going, for all your support. All of you out there, help us continue to grow because the discussions are only going to get better. They're going to get probably more heated too. The further we go along, we are not even close to halfway done. So we've got plenty of show to go around. And that's just the way it goes here on the Podcast Will Rock podcast. And we will rock you later.